Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Media Talks TV with your host Tony J. We got a segment of retrospectives. This week marks the 30th anniversary of New Jersey Drive. New Jersey Drive came into theaters March 24th, 1995. And, unlike all the hood movies that I've grown up with, um, besides Boys in the Hood, besides Menace to Society, um, New Jersey Drive was a different. New Jersey Drive was a different movie because you know it was one of those movies that was set aside from other primary hood movies that came out during the 90s. 1995, we had two two big movies that focused on the East Coast. Now, out of all of the other early black inner city movies like Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society and Poetic Justice, 1991 through 1993, we saw a lot of movies really coming from places like Los Angeles. So Los Angeles for a while got to tell their story. But out of all of those movies, and then you had, of course, Strapped that came out. That was a cable movie. That was for HBO. And that focused on the inner city New York, and inner city Brooklyn. But when the two movies that came out that year in 1995 was very big, um, and Spike Lee had a lot to do with it because Spike Lee was jumping into the fray of doing a lot of urban movies. And of course, Clockers was one of those movies he directed. But many of you might not know that Spike Lee also directed New Jersey Drive. He was an executive producer for New Jersey Drive. And at the time the movie came out, I remember hearing news articles. I was looking up a lot of news articles that they didn't want New Jersey Drive to be shown in Newark at the time that it came in the theaters because they said that the movie itself might encourage carjacking. But yet the city was already dealing with the issue of carjacking and a lot of teenagers taking cars for joyrides. That was one of the very main issues that became a thing in New Jersey, in Newark at the time. And, you know, so many people went to the movie theaters to go see that movie. And it was different because it wasn't your regular crime saga. Um, it was dealing with a serious issue that was actually happening in New Jersey and in Newark mainly. And, you know, at the time that the movie came out, it was really one of those movies that put New Jersey on the same level as New York City. Because, of course, with Spike Lee doing all those movies, coming off of Crooklyn and then doing Clockers right behind that, it felt like during that time, the East Coast was really about to tell their story about inner city crime within their communities. Because before that, it was just LA. Of course, you had Jason's Lyric, but when we started getting movies like Strapped, when we started getting movies like New Jersey Drive and Clockers, And New Jersey Drive was really one of those great movies, and is really an underrated movie because during that time period, we had so many movies coming out about the inner city, and we had kind of by that time we kind of stacked up this whole resume full of black movies at the time. So we coming at the midpoint of the 90s, and of course, New Jersey Drive comes out, and right around the time of the popularity of New York Undercover. So you had this overwhelming focus on Newark, New Jersey, Philly, and many other cities that were dealing with those same urban issues. But what I love so much about this movie is not just the plot itself, but it was the soundtrack. And one thing when people watch New Jersey Drive, the soundtrack was the best part about that movie. And the thing about movies nowadays is movies don't have a good soundtrack anymore. You notice that most movies don't have soundtracks like they used to. Because back then, when we used to go to the movies had to have that soundtrack. If it didn't have a good soundtrack, it wasn't going to be a great movie. But it was something about New Jersey Drive that I love so much, and one of the things is that the soundtrack for that movie made it great because it gave you they had a lot of New Jersey artists on the album. Um, Queen Latifah was on the album. Tretch and Naughty by Nature was on the album. One of my favorite tracks of all time was "Burn Rubber" by Lords of the Underground, which was another Jersey-based artist. Redman, Redman had a track on the album as well. So you had so what New Jersey Drive essentially did was put New Jersey hip hop on the map at a time when New York hip hop was outshining New Jersey. And New Jersey has always had this kind of tension between each other because they're right across the Hudson from each other. But so many great artists came out of New Jersey, but Lords of the Underground was one of those great rap groups to come out of New Jersey, and especially with Redman having the popularity that he had when he did a track on that album, it essentially made New Jersey rap heard. It gained popularity. New Jersey rappers gained popularity automatically. Just the nostalgia of the movie itself. When I could think back, people wearing New Jersey Devil uh, jerseys, um, people wearing Timberlands, and popularity of Timberlands and skull caps, and all that was documented. And it seems like when you watch the movie, it feels like another world that we just left. But it just seems like, what if New Jersey Drive was shot today? What would it look like? You know? And also, one of the things I would like to point out too is a lot of the actors, Gabriel Cassius and many others, there were three actors on New Jersey Drive that end up doing maybe three separate pieces of episodes for New York Undercover, which was even great because when you saw them a lot, be able to mature from New Jersey Drive and then leave that movie and then go over across the Hudson and then do an episode of New York Undercover. So it was really like the midpoint of the 90s and everything was just like buzzing for New York at that time. So New York, the music scene was there, the club scene, everything was there, but it was also this criminal underworld. And you know, Newark was really a rough place to be. I don't think it's like that anymore, but back then it was there was a mayor there. I think his name was James Smith. Correct me if I'm wrong, but his name was Mayor James, and Mayor James ran Newark for a very long time before Cory Booker came into play, and he did not want he didn't want the movie to be played in Newark. He actually wanted to ban it outright because they didn't he didn't want the youth to go see that movie because they were already dealing with the issue of carjacking. And also there was a time when the mayor wanted to at some point take cancel the permits for Spike Lee not to shoot at any of the locations around Newark. So it it was a real crazy time. But those movies, they did a lot to highlight the complex issue of adolescence and hanging out with your friends and doing all types of crazy shit. And this constant issue with police brutality and corrupt cops, and I feel like that was really balanced out and highlighted in that movie, you know and I didn't think it was really too much of a glorification so much, but it was just one of them movies like it was so underrated, and I felt like it's New Jersey Drive is the most underrated black film next to maybe Strapped, which is another hood classic. But looking at this movie from 30 years on to now, it just makes me think, it's it's amazing that the popularity people are really starting to talk about this movie again. I've seen clips come up on Facebook and YouTube, everybody talking about the movie. So it's gaining more popularity now than it ever did in the past, because I had never known when I first was looking for it, I had never known about New Jersey Drive. you know but one of the homeboys in there too, one of the other actors, he got a part in that movie as well, and then went on to do Clueless. I forgot his name. He was Stacey Dash's boyfriend in Clueless. So even his career took off, and even he did an episode in New York Undercover too. So every almost three or four actors from New Jersey Drive end up doing at least one episode in New York Undercover, and that's crazy. But Gabriel Casey is, which is the main character that I know. He did um several, maybe about two or three episodes in New York Undercover. So whenever I think about Gabriel Casey, he kind of was the main one that was showing up on New York Undercover episodes. So you know It's been another retrospective. Be sure to stay tuned. I know it's been a long time since I posted something. I'm trying to keep the consistency, but make sure y'all keep subscribing. Make sure y'all keep sharing my videos, and make sure you hit the like because I got to get back into the algorithm. So, thanks for listening. Thank you for tuning in. This is Tony J. I'm out. See you next time.